Dusty Futon podcast is a product of the Dusty Futon LLC and Dusty Futon Productions. Go to dustyfuton.com for more information.
Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Dusty Futon Musicians Podcast, where we like to chat with artists and bands who are performing or recording artists, and we want to share their stories with you. This week, we talked to a band called Sometimes Julie. Now, there's an interesting reason behind the name, and it's really kind of cool. It ties right into the way these two met. And we're talking with Monica and Rick of Sometimes Julie. They're a blues-based rock and roll band, and we gave them the nickname The Dive Band during this episode, and I think you're going to love that story. Well, enough of me teasing it. Let's go ahead and jump right into the episode of Sometimes Julie. Kim's going to join us shortly. And Rick just walked back into the building. And because this is audio, I have to narrate everything. Awesome. This is beautiful. So, wow. Okay, so we have Sometimes Julie in the studio. Yay.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you. First thing I want to say is how awesome it was that we got connected through Reverb Nation.
Yeah.
We got to, I actually was reached out to by, he's going to kill me for not remembering his name. One of the directors.
Remember his name. He's not going to know you were talking about him.
That's true. I
think it was Phil or Peter or something like that.
Something like that.
It was a P name.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a P.
Those really cool P names.
But he reached out to us.
Nation.
Yeah, he reached out to us directly and started a campaign with us. And here we have Sometimes Julie.
Yes.
And now there is not a single Julie in the band.
That is true. We're all just aspiring to be Julie.
Okay, so what? First thing, tell me before. Actually, all right, let's go ahead and start. We have Monica.
Hi.
The lead vocalist and writer.
Yes.
Mostly.
Yes.
And then we have Rick.
Rick, who is the rhythm guitarist, backing vocalist, and co-writer.
Can you pull the microphone closer?
Rick, the backing vocalist, rhythm guitarist, co-writer.
All right, cool. And you guys met at a karaoke bar.
We did meet at a bar, a divey bar where they were doing karaoke. That is true.
Now, I read East County.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of
Well,
east.
it's more of a Kearney Mesa kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I read East County somewhere, probably because the internet likes to lie.
Are you going to divulge the name of the establishment?
Well, it's not there any longer.
Oh.
So it's
and just to
It's a moot
protect
point.
both the guilty
The
and
guilty,
the innocent.
there's a lot of guilt to go around.
I don't blame you. All right, so let's get to the name then. Sometimes Julie.
Yes.
Okay, so the bar was really divey,
Okay.
and I just didn't want to walk out of there with anybody actually knowing my real name, so I always signed up under Julie.
Oh, karaoke, that's brilliant.
And so Rick was there, and he was talking about how he writes music, and he was looking for a lyricist, and we ended up connecting, but I never ended up divulging that my name wasn't Julie.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, wow.
So to get to the punchline, we knew each other and were writing together for 6 months before I knew her name was Monica.
Totally true.
Oh, that's...
And
Now,
I,
hold on a second. Is it Monica, or are you just trying to pass moniker as your name?
Yeah, it's both of those. Actually,
See,
like
there I go with my words.
No, I
pontificates quite frequently.
I just didn't want him to think I was a liar, so that I just I'm like, how am I ever going to tell him?
So she stuck with it.
Wow.
With tenacity.
So for
Lot of
6
tenacity.
months of writing.
Yeah.
Yep. Until one day she gave it away accidentally. She was talking.
You were just gonna
from
roll with
Chicago.
Wait, okay, so it was it was a slip up. You didn't.
was a slip up.
You didn't willingly come forth and say,
No.
by the
No, she did
way,
not.
No.
6 months into this writing duo thing going on.
So that story's kind of.
So what was your response? Like when that happened?
Well, I'll tell you how it happened. We were just having a conversation. I'm from Chicago originally, and I moved away almost 20 years ago, and I've lost a lot of my accent, but I still some of it kind of residual remains.
Come in and out one in a while.
So I was telling her that, and she said, "Well, I know somebody who's from Chicago, and he always calls me Monica." So I said, "Well, that's
busted.
really strange since your name's Julie."
And
So now
That's not
I want
the accent.
Just show me, imitate what the look on your face was when you realized the shock and the horror of what you just did.
I had a napkin because we were at dinner, and I just kind of covered my mouth, and I was like, "Oh yeah, so you know about that." And so now we're sometimes Julie.
Well, I gotta say, in terms of your story there, I used to do karaoke a lot. I've actually funded a karaoke business before in the past. And
You learn something new every day, kids.
Oh,
yeah,
you
I
do?
know, right? Yeah. Yeah, I won't do it again. But at least, he paid me back, so that's all that matters. But anyway, I digressed. I used to sing a lot of karaoke, and a lot of women will do that because there's some seedy characters at
Right.
the karaoke
They're very
bars.
interesting people. Yes.
Yeah, and they'll hunt you down.
But I assure you, I was not one of those.
No, he was
So
using his real name.
Well, guys use their real name because they're
That's
hoping the
legit,
girls hunt
right?
us down.
Right.
We want the girls to find us and be like, yeah. your
Stalkers
voice-
aren't so bad when you're a man.
No.
Opposite day, right?
Yeah, we beg to be stalked, especially for singing at a karaoke bar.
And they're
I used
hot,
to do that
like
too.
Monica.
Yeah. Well, Monica, yeah.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got two hot ladies. I think you can see it on if you're watching. I don't know if anybody's watching. I just let it roll, kind of like this.
I'm watching.
you.
I see you and you and you.
Oh yeah. Well,
was
you're
that?
present.
Romper room.
Romper room. She
Yeah,
had
totally.
the little glass.
Oh, that went over my head.
Oh God, I'm kind of old.
I missed that one.
You
No,
know,
that doesn't mean you're old. That
So the
means
Romper Room lady's son was Emerson Todd, who was lead singer of the band Tonic.
Shut up.
Really?
I love Tonic.
Yeah, and every
love
episode she'd always say hello to Emerson. She always saw Emerson.
oh wow.
Ah, fun facts here on the Dusty
Yeah, see,
Futon.
it's
Brought
just
to
a
you-
long list of facts and things that I know that I have no business remembering.
Well, that's okay. We got a
Just stick
long
there.
time for you to just spit a bunch of them out because we're going to be chatting for a few.
I want to go fact check him though.
I know, right?
Better Google that.
I
Fact.org.
could
Let's
totally
do
be
this.
full of crap too. So, but you won't know
Fake
until
news.
later.
I've been known to make stuff up occasionally as well.
Yes, you have.
I know. Ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. I may or may not be correct.
Right.
but
awesome.
And it won't
I love
matter
your
till
confidence.
later. We'll be long gone before you look that
all
crap
in the
up.
delivery, right?
It is.
You just own it.
Say it
Good.
like you mean it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we get to hear some music?
Yes, in a minute. In a minute.
Oh, okay.
First though, and I want to ask you guys, out of the three songs you gave me, what you want to play. But first, let's talk about your first. What was your first album?
Head first.
Head
was the name of the
First.
first album. Right.
Is that
So many
like
things
head
to be said
first,
there.
like a baby?
It's if you're gonna do something, go all in.
You're done.
Ah.
Yeah, don't hold back. If you're gonna fall in love, just be a fool and go head first.
Now, and that was award winning. It was your debut full length CD, 8-track CD,
Yeah, it went really well.
and yeah. So tell me about the reception to that.
So when we put it together, we really had no idea that it would be as awesome as it was when it turned out. Like, not to toot my own horn, but I was really thrilled because like that was our first crack at it. But we had a lot of great musicians with us, and wonderful producer, and
Awesome.
we're really, really proud of it. And to this day, I just feel all the energy and get off singing that song.
It's so
that
great.
title track.
It's so great to watch a performance like that too. When you're out somewhere and you could when singers bring in the energy and the band's like still into it after they've sung that song like God knows how many times. It's like that's friggin' cool.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true because you can tell a lot of times it's easy to get burned out when you're doing the same thing over and over again. But what's great with bands as you grow, the song grows with you, and if it doesn't, then you're stale. But that's my opinion. The song grows with you as you go. So
So funny little story about that.
please,
See the title of that CD. I was listening to your past podcast, and I saw that you interviewed the Falling Doves, Chris Leva.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
And we actually played a show with them once, and Monica was talking to him about the CD. Head first, it's like, well, then what's second?
That's actually Christopher Lambert right there.
I love that guy. Isn't he awesome?
He's such a character.
He
Oh, my
really is,
goodness.
and he's super hot on stage.
Oh, I know.
Have you seen him perform?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My husband played with him too before, and a couple times.
fun.
And yeah, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He really knows how to hold a pose too. It's pretty
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Oh, he's so rock and roll.
he's a rock star. He looks like a rock star. He's
totally
like a
does.
cross between Chris Angel and the dude from Soundgarden.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Cornell.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah,
Cornell.
all about
That's two
Chris. It's
Chris.
all about the
I didn't even think about it, but yeah,
We're
he's like a
talking about
cross
Chris
between
Leva.
those two.
How do you
Yeah.
know?
Hey, what do you know?
know?
3 Chris's, and two
Three
of them look
C's
like a
and a-
mashup of one or whatever. One of them looks like, yeah, you know what I'm saying. All right, so you gave me 3 tracks. Are any of them off of the Head First album?
No, actually, we gave you 3 current ones. I think we gave you
Oh, cool.
Breaking, which is the title track of the new
Yeah.
CD, which is Breaking.
It's awesome. And now we're going to hear the title track, which is called Breaking. It's called Breaking.
That's it.
It
Great.
is.
I almost said Breaking Bad. I'm like, now I'm going to
No,
get
that's something
sued.
different.
I could-
but also
that's a
good.
different song. I
Just
haven't
as
written it
awesome.
yet.
Yeah. I've only seen all
Just
the parodies.
as awesome. It's about the best TV show of all time.
All right, so here we go. This is Breaking by Sometimes Julie off of the self-titled album that came out in June, Breaking.
My heart was pulling out, it all but stopped. Waiting for both your shoes to drop. So I thought it best to leave it tucked there in the corner. If I have any judgment, I hope my
Kind of like rock country, though.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't call ourselves country. We call ourselves rock with a little bit of a country
So,
influence.
yeah.
Kind of would you call yourself more Americana?
We have, I say blues, bass, rock and roll. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
That's like 10 titles we just mentioned.
Yeah.
We're hard to categorize.
Yeah.
What can I
Yeah,
say?
we don't fit in just one pocket, as you'll
Right.
hear later.
when I'm feeling so low, you're talking about goodbye. I'm breaking, better keep my eye on the door. Keep my eye on the door. You can bet that cat has had my tongue. If I'd said a word, we'd come undone. My lips are pressed so tight, I might burst. Held my cards close to my vest, but now they're pounding in my chest. Breaking down, or oh, don't know what's worse. Oh, when I'm breaking, you're telling me how you're right. And when I'm hurting, you wanna say to me, you don't wanna hear me cry no more. When I'm feeling so low, you're talking about goodbye. I'm breaking, better keep my eye on the door. Keeping my eye on the door, already closing between us, shutting us out, latched and locked. You have taken the keys, leaving ashes, doubt and loss. This time isn't a hurt I can cure with you brushing me home. Hear me, I'm breaking. You're telling me how you're right. And when I'm hurting, you wanna say to me, you don't wanna hear me cry no more. When I'm feeling so low, you're talking about goodbye. I'm breaking, better keep my eye on the door. Keep my eye on the door.
Okay.
Yeah, you can talk now.
I've been holding it in for a long time, so that was a long time for me. That was a great song. Your vocals are very powerful.
Oh, thank you.
Great lyrics, and
Thank
that guitar work was awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
our lead
background.
guitarist, Alberto Moreno,
Nice.
who is a
Sounds
very
good.
mysterious man.
Yeah, Alberto.
Alberto Moreno.
Alberto.
Born in Argentina.
It reminds me like Antonio Banderas, you know.
Right? Yep. He brings
Yeah.
the sexy.
Doesn't he?
The sexy and the swagger to the band.
Nice.
But what's
He
really
has
funny
it in
is
playing.
he often talks about his time in the 80s and 90s playing in bands in LA. His amp was actually owned by Randy Rhoads.
oh, wow.
They were neighbors in Burbank back in the day.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
So he has Randy Rhodes' old amp, but we always try to get him to tell us, okay, what band were you in the 80s? And he says, I was in lots of bands. And he will not tell you what bands he played in the 80s.
I think it's a memory thing because, it was like,
It was the 80s.
Or it was like,
Or he was a session player and he jumped on a bunch of albums he was never get credit for and he doesn't want to talk about
That
it.
was also
Maybe.
the 80s.
I suspect maybe, he was in
I've heard that story before, by the
He
way.
was in a hair band he's embarrassed about now.
Oh,
that could be.
That's my theory.
he's like, I was one of the original members of Kiss. They didn't like my makeup. Had too much pink in it.
I think he's in witness protection personally.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, he's pretty damn good at his guitar. I like his riffs. He's got some really good
Isn't
riffs.
he awesome?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, so that's Alberto. Now, you have 3 more members of your band.
We do.
Now, is that a full accompaniment of your actual band, or is it just you two and then some?
No, so that
We started out as just the two of us. When
Right.
we did Head First, it was just Monica and me. We started out, in my home studio in my basement, like, well, let's actually go to a real studio and see what we can do. And we had session musicians help us out. But then after that, we're like, well, let's put together a real band and start gigging and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what we did next. And, we started just, practicing in our living room, over in Carlsbad. And it just kept growing from there. We have all new players from that era of our band. So that now we are a 6-piece. These guys are all Sometimes Julie now. So we're all,
Wow.
we're a full-fledged band now.
they're
When
so-
did Sometimes Julie start?
So as a duo, about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Our current,
2012 is the date that I saw.
Yeah.
So 6 years
Okay.
ago.
Oh,
6
6
Yeah,
years ago.
September was
I wanted to passively
September's a
correct
great
you.
month.
September 2012 was when we first started, writing songs together.
Nice.
That's true.
First hooked
Yeah.
up.
And our first gig as a duo was, early 2013, and just sort of kept evolving from there. 2014 is when we first put the band together after we released Head First. And we had a little bit of turnover and found what we think is the right lineup. Now we just added
Yeah.
a new drummer
Okay.
because we can't seem to hold on to a drummer.
And that's Michael Heater.
No, he actually just left.
But
Party foul.
But he said he'll come back whenever
He's still
we need
so.
him.
By the way, all our old drummers
I
are all
didn't
still
think
really good friends. They just they all spontaneously combusted, just like in Spinal Tap.
Oh no, a little green globby, just right
Well,
there.
that's what
Boom.
happens with
They're
drummers.
the sweetest, though. They really are. I've loved every one of them.
But
They're all
now-
different. But
Sometimes it just doesn't work out, or we're all busy.
So
All the
now
drummers I've loved
working in.
before.
We're working in the best drummer yet, named
I hear
John
another song.
Musio is the new drummer. He owns a company called Musio Drums. He manufactures
Oh, is that
drums.
why I've heard that name before?
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
hey, I'm familiar.
And so we're really excited
Cool.
about that, and we'll be working him in for our next gig in the near
Yeah.
future.
What do you guys have coming up?
Well, so right now we're hoping to get back in the studio. We've got 6
Yeah.
more songs to get going as soon as John's ready to rock and roll with us.
Cool.
And we'll head on back over to Pacific Beats and Pacific Records, and we'll start laying some stuff down. And then we're branching out over to East County because we've mostly played downtown and North County Coastal, and we want to kind of spread it out and get to other parts of the county, especially where we think the listenership is really into live music.
Yeah, there's a lot
Nice.
of places to play over there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about your writing ability or your writing style because you first started out the duo, 2 of you writing together. Is it still that same? The 2 of you write and then you involve the band to kind of get there. So tell me
Yes,
about your
so-
writing process for that song "Breaking."
So, with rare exception, our process is still pretty much just the 2 of us. So there's like one exception. And then it does go back and forth who starts the song. At this point, I'm usually the one who comes to Rick with a melody and some lyrics. And I say, help me refine this. And we go back and forth. And, he tells me what he loves and what he doesn't love. And then he puts his own spin on it. And usually he helps me rock it out a bit, and then he does all the arranging. He lays down initial tracks in the home studio, and then we take it to the guys, and then the guys help put an additional spin on it.
So are you?
A musician as well? I mean, do you play an instrument?
So I'm learning to
I
play
like
my
how you
guitar.
just finished my question for me, and that wasn't even my question. But go on.
Yeah, so I'm a vocalist, but my instrumental training is still in process.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And so I do come to Rick with my acoustic, and I can play it out for him, but I'm not going to play it out for all of you. You'll be
you don't,
happy.
you don't just pull it out for anyone?
Yeah, exactly.
So are you like a kind of a folk Americana inspired artist yourself?
I am. We were talking about this on the way over, and it's really
It's like,
hard.
I hope they don't ask us what our inspirations are or our influences because we have no idea.
No,
That's fine. No, that honestly, sometimes some of the best musicians they don't even really take input from other. You just hear it.
We're both a product of everybody's a product of everything they've ever
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
your
I love so many
environment.
genres, you know.
Right,
Yeah.
but Monica grew up primarily in Denver and in a household that listened to a lot of country, so she can't get that out.
My parents
She can't run
listen-
away
It's in
from
the
it as much as
vocals.
she can.
Yeah.
Right.
A little
Yeah,
bit, a
yeah,
little
you
bit.
can hear it. I know, and I do try and squeeze a little bit of it out. But luckily, I also had a lot of folks in my family who were very musical and listened to something other than country. Which there's nothing wrong with country, but it just isn't always where I want to be.
Right.
And so, you know, I also got a lot of Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and Fleetwood Mac, and
Right on.
you know, so if I said what influences me more, I would say Fleetwood Mac over, you know, Conway Twitty or something.
That makes sense. I can hear that in your voice.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now,
Yeah, for sure.
are you like classically trained, or have you gone through any vocal training other than just going out and belting it and
Dive
getting
bars,
feedback?
bar karaoke.
Pretty much dive bar karaoke is my training. No, I don't have any training. I don't.
Well, you
Oh, it
sound
worked.
great, and you have that. You can tell that you sing from the diaphragm. You actually pull from below, and you put that power out and that emotion out. It's amazing.
Thanks.
It's
Thanks very
natural
much.
too.
It runs in her family. Her brother is also a vocalist and was in
Okay.
a pretty, I guess, big local band in Phoenix for a number of years. So
Phoenix. My brother lives in Phoenix.
He really
I don't
does.
know why I did that. In a,
And he plays out too with his
Because you
wife.
watched Raising Arizona.
maybe.
Oh,
maybe.
what's that called? Like only like I don't have enough fingers and toes to count how many times I've watched that movie.
I know, don't you love
That
it?
Spinal
Holly
Tap
Hunter.
too. Oh my god!
So awesome.
Hold on, Junior. We're going to get Daddy. Pulls the car out
I love him so much.
all the time. Oh my god! You're killing me.
Oh my God, let's reel this in for a second. Let's get to you, Rick. All right, so
Talk about you.
I want to ask
Let's
you
talk
about
about
your.
me.
I want to ask you about your inspirations, and you know,
Yeah.
but
since you
the
just told me not
The
to.
question I always like to ask people is, what was the first album you ever bought with your own money? And K-Tel doesn't count. No, nothing you bought off the TV.
Wait, are you asking?
I'm
why are
asking
you
every-
raising your hand?
I have
it's
the
because it's a great
answer. This is
question.
what
It's
I
a great
did.
question.
Go
It's
ahead.
fun to answer. Mine was the Beach Boys' "Endless Summer."
Awesome.
So I've always been into like vocal harmonies, and that's kind of like where I this was kind of my center. So going
Right
to
on.
you, Kim.
Well, mine, I was 11 years old, and I saved up my babysitting money, and I walked to Music Plus. They used to actually have music stores where you bought records, and it was great. And
I was just driving around North Park. They still do.
they
do.
there are a few out there, but I was in Northridge, Shake Rock and Roll at the time. And I walked into Music Plus, and I went and got my AC/DC Highway to Hell record, and I slapped that
That's a
bitch on the
great
counter.
one. That's a
That was
great
the
one.
first record I ever.
Oh, that totally gets you through, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Thank you very much.
Eagles' greatest hits.
Nice.
Nice.
With
One of the
Own
top
Money.
selling albums of all time.
Wait, the
Yeah.
'88.
We have really good records.
I like the
that we
1988 live album that has Seven Bridges Road on it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's not the one that I bought, but that is so
She got the
beautiful.
one with the what is that? A skull of some
Yeah, it's
animal.
kinda
on
like
the
Oh,
front.
raised up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. I know the one.
The one you can touch, you know.
The one you can, I think, if I remember
wall.
correctly, mine was Run DMC Raising Hell.
Wow.
That's
Right
interesting.
on. That-
Yeah,
I
I have
didn't
an
see that coming.
eclectic sound, and the thing is, most of my albums before that I got either for free or secondhand from my brother. Listening, it was either that or DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince bringing the house or whatever.
Starting with hip hop. That's
Wow,
pretty cool.
interesting.
Well-
I did not. Fun facts again. See, here we keep going.
I listened to the music that I listened to a lot as a kid was like all the sappy love crap that came out of the
Andy Gibb.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Well, I was in I wasn't in San Diego. I was in Georgia. I grew up in Georgia.
All right.
Up in Georgia. Then you went to Ohio.
I was born in Ohio.
Okay, that's where
Now
it
it's-
started.
yeah,
it all
Ohio,
started.
Georgia. But
Now
anyway,
your city is gone.
yeah.
Georgia.
What?
You went back to Ohio, but my city was gone.
Oh,
The
hey, pretenders.
Oh, jeez.
Got to be quick around this place.
Now, I know you guys are beating me to the punch. I'm usually the fast one. I know what's going on with me today.
I don't know either. It's tripping me out. I'm kind of actually excited. It's kind of nice. I get one.
I got a one up today. This is awesome.
I get one in every now and again.
So, Rick, do you have any formal training in guitar?
I've, my formal training is in saxophone, which I played, when I was young, and but I
You got another woodwind in the band.
We do. That's because I haven't played a saxophone in 20 years.
Oh, okay. All right. So continue.
That's the
We'll
only
get
thing
to
I've
that
ever
in a
been
few.
training. Guitar, I took a couple lessons, but primarily self-taught, just messing around with, bought a Creedence Clearwater Revival songbook and, learned from that.
So we got two
Cool.
completely self-started musicians
Yeah, that's
who met performing at dive band karaoke.
Yeah.
Or dive bar.
Dive bar.
Dive band. What
the hell is that?
That's a whole new
band.
thing.
That's
It's a new
funny,
term that
actually.
you've
I know, right?
We're a dive band.
I
I'm
have
like a
things
dive
like
band.
that.
I
That's
don't
what
know
we
how to
are.
play, but I want to be a musician.
You're a
what we're-
dive band.
Oh, by the way, that's what we are. We're a dive band.
There we go. I like that. I'm going to write that
It
down.
sounded a little too good to be a dive band.
Copyright that.
I'm not going to lie.
I write slow.
He really is writing it down for the record.
I see he is. Yeah,
But
he
if your
gets a journal.
follow-up question is, are all the other guys trained and talented? The answer is yes. They're all phenomenal musicians.
I was going to say that because your backing band is phenomenal. But what's amazing is that you guys have written together music that has, touched the hearts of people, and you've gotten hits out of it.
Yeah, and we don't know what we're doing. That's what.
Oh, I know that's like I'll be honest. That's where I'm at too. I didn't know what I was doing when I started this, but you know what? It got me here. And speaking of your music, now we talked about woodwinds just a moment ago, where you said you first started on the sax,
Right.
But you have a saxophone/flute player in
Who's
your
an
band.
amazing musician, Anthony Sarine.
Is he on any of the tracks you sent me?
He is.
'Cause I didn't hear any woodwind at all in that last track, Breaking. That sounded a little bit more. His keys were in there.
Anthony's not actually on this particular album. He's on the Bright Side of the Line album.
Okay.
He's on the opening track, Emily.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's awesome. He does a great job, and he plays both flute and does he play sax on that
He
one as
does.
well? Yeah, right.
Yeah, he opens. He opens that.
Yeah,
song.
I guess the very first note is the sax.
So he's
Song.
not going to be any. Is he going to be on the album? Is he on the?
He'll be on CD number 4.
Okay, so he's not on Breaking. He's just in
not.
the band now.
Right.
Right.
So in order to see him, you have to go see something.
Sometimes
Julie.
You have to see Sometimes Julie live.
World famous dive band.
Yes,
or any of the other 5 or 6 bands that he's in.
but we're promoting you guys, not what else he does outside. But
Anthony did join us recently. He was actually a featured artist on our second CD, and then he joined us, and he's handling keys, sax, and flute. But he just
Nice.
came on pretty much after we finished Breaking
so
in the studio.
when people see you live, they're going to see him.
They will always see him.
And he's very
Nice.
tall, so they're going to see
They
him
won't
for sure
miss
from a
him.
distance.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to another track that you gave me. Again, this is off of one of these. This is off of the album Breaking.
Sometimes Julie.
Yeah. So which one do you guys want to play next?
Can I just actually take a quick detour here?
Of course.
So
It's
speaking
your
of
show.
Speaking of Reverb Nation, I'm not sure if you're familiar with their service they provide to artists called crowd reviews.
Yes.
So we've done that for every song we've ever put on a CD. And most recently with Breaking, of the 7 songs, 6 of them scored in the top 10% of every song that's ever been reviewed on Reverb Nation.
Wow.
So did really, really well.
So they did really, really well. The one that didn't is my favorite song.
Let me guess. That's In My Bones.
That's In My Bones.
Well, let's go the least favorite by the crowd.
We think it's our best writing.
favorite by the
I
band.
think it's the best thing we've ever done, and the crowd hated it.
Is-
Well, they didn't
Well,
hate
they
it.
didn't hate it. It was
but
like a 6.9 or something.
Yeah, it scored like in the top 25%, but everything else is in the top 10.
Based on what you're used to saying, too, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
The least favorite of all the favorite
There
tracks
you
of
go,
all the
there you go,
band.
but I think it's
the music
awesome.
you guys have put out.
We'll be the judge of that.
So this is In My Bones off the Breaking album by Sometimes Julie.
If blood is thicker than water.
There's that Fleetwood Mac right there. That's
Yep,
it.
for sure. The influence.
And a little bit of Pink Floyd, too. There's there's reversed waves in there that kind of go do this
Yeah.
thing.
If blood is thicker than water, why can't I feel you in my bones?
Killer bass line there.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Says the bass player.
I blew my amp, by the way.
Oh, jeez.
Cut past every corner. You might have turned. Reframe the window you call home. Chasing your ghost down until
Is that would reframe the window you call home? Wow. That is a powerful line.
Yeah, it gave me shivers, actually. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I see it. Little goose pimples over there.
I've strayed too long. Mind is dark and cold. I've gone too thin. My skin is not my own. Stuck in the weeds, won't you please tell me why can't I feel you?
Killer bass line, there it is again. Yeah.
Resigned to the banks and wonder. Do you dream in Brooklyn too? If I close my eyes, go under. Can I swim? Can I swim to you?
There's Alberto.
There he is.
I've strayed too long. Mind is dark and cold. I've gone too thin. My skin is not my own. I've strayed too long. Mind is dark and cold. Gone too thin. My skin is not my own. Stuck in the weeds, won't you please tell me why can't I feel you in my clothes? Why can't I feel you in my clothes?
You right over there, Kim?
So it's a 6.9. Are you guys kidding me? This is a great song.
I can't feel you. I can't feel you. I can't feel you in my bones. Oh, why can't I feel you in my
The only 6.9 I see that earning is on the Richter scale.
Nice.
Booyah.
He's all over it.
See what I did there? See what I
Thank
did
you.
there?
I saw that.
Oh.
Nice
Thank you,
work,
John.
Big John. Yeah.
There you go. Nice work, you guys. That was killer.
Yeah. I just want to credit a few people who played in that track. Bruce Paul Allen, that killer bass line.
Yeah.
I think that
You
bass
can't
line
ignore that.
makes the song.
It's a great bass line.
And
holds it
Rebecca
down.
Jade of Rebecca Jade and the Cold Facts sang backing vocals on that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, as a featured artist, yeah.
Kind of gave it that sort of soulful, kind of
Yeah.
almost old school feeling to it. And
Yes.
then George Nelms, who was sometimes Julie's drummer at the time, killer power drummer, plays with the Jack Stones.
Oh, we'll have
Oh,
to bring
really?
it.
Okay.
Mental note.
Now, so George,
Please write it down, 'cause I'll not
Now, you said
remember.
you played with Julie. He played with Julie before,
Right before Michael.
Oh, okay. So he's another one of.
So let's name all the
I don't know
drummers.
why I
Drummer
looked
number
at you.
2.
I was thinking you were Julie for some reason instead of the
Again.
band. Like you said, Julie instead of sometimes Julie. It threw me off.
That's all right.
It's been a very long day.
Seriously,
Yeah, it
it
has.
happens everywhere I go.
So if you
Yeah.
count the session players on our first CD, who were Jeff Winkler and Enrique Platas.
Oh, we love Enrique.
Yeah,
Isn't
so
he
they both
beautiful?
played on our
Oh
first
my
CD.
God, he's a crazy
and then
talent.
our first live drummer was, well, not that those guys weren't alive. They were alive.
Yes,
They still
they
are.
still are. I know Enrique is.
The first official, sometimes Julie member drummer was Andy Graham, who's in another band now whose name I can't remember.
I'll come up with it.
Yeah,
You go, Monica.
He left because he wanted to play with a cover band. He didn't want to do originals because he got tired.
really?
Got tired of playing in empty rooms,
Hi,
which is the plight of an originals band
Yep.
in this
Right.
town anyway.
It's for sure.
And
frustrating.
and then Andy Graham moved on, and then George joined us for a while. He had been drumming with the Jack Stones forever, And we became friends over the couple of years. He's like, yeah, I'll drum for you guys. So he did that for a while, and then he got too busy, and then we got Michael Heater, who was a great drummer, but again, life got in the way.
Yeah.
And so now we've added John Muzio. So we'll see where that takes us.
It tends to do that for musicians. The longer you're being a musician and just kind of skating by and not really, making millions or whatever, the hammer drops at some point on certain people. Others just keep pushing through and make it work. Now, speaking of that, you guys were a little bit more country at the earlier part of your album, like your first EP. Or sorry, your first album, which I found was 14 tracks, not 8, like I thought for some reason.
Right. Well, there's probably 8 good ones.
I thought you said they're all in the top 10%.
We're working on that.
That's the latest stuff. The latest CD is on the top 10%.
Breaking's just
Common Core math.
done
Now,
so well.
So your transition from then to now is a lot more rock.
Yeah,
So
it's
tell
a lot
me
more rock and roll.
about those few years of transitioning that flavor.
Well, when we started out, I wanted everything to be, as Rick likes to remind me, pretty. And,
Right.
I wanted it to all be very melodic and lovely and all about love. And then, our sound.
Flower power.
Yeah, kind
Stevie
of.
Nicks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It flows.
and, then as many bands do, I mean, like the Beatles started out really super sweet, right? And then pretty soon we've got the White Album. So
And what's
Not to
on-
compare us to the Beatles. 'cause
no.
we're not-
But
we're
I'm
nerdy,
just saying,
so,
like, people evolve and
Yeah.
they find their sound and for a lyricist, like I began to have things that I wanted to write about that were beyond just falling in love. Which, if you listen to the whole first CD, it's pretty much about falling in love.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I guess I do because I just did. But I'm,
You go
I
right
love
ahead.
you, Kim.
I'm breaking. Like, what inspires you to write songs?
So most of it is real life.
Okay.
Every now and then you can have sort of an imagined thing or something that you saw happen to a friend, like picking up the pieces is not really something directly out of my life. It is out of a friend's life. But in breaking, if you've ever been in a relationship for any period of time, I'll just say if it's a man and a woman, sometimes the woman is trying to communicate her feelings and sometimes the man is more interested in winning the argument in my experience, in my very limited experience. And so that's...
I like how you put that disclaimer there. It's
Yes.
like, someone's going to just attack you for no, this person that way.
Yeah. And so it's kind of about that frustration of having two different communication styles where somebody is not hearing that what I'm telling you is I can't handle this anymore,
Right.
Yeah.
And those are just moments that come up in any long-term relationship.
Now-
Just in life in general, and that's very powerful. It's a very
Yeah.
powerful statement.
In My Bones, and that seems like more of an aching song, like kind of a longing feeling. Tell me about that one.
So that one's a little bit more difficult to explain, but
I felt like I love that line. I failed to write it down, but it was
the window
remaking
frame
your
of
house,
your house.
reframing the home.
The window
reframed
frame.
the window you called home.
Yeah, explain that part.
So I lost my son in 2013, and he was 20 years old. He was a beautiful, beautiful person, very talented. He was gay, and he felt pretty rejected by society in general. And he ultimately made a very quick and unhealthy decision. He killed himself, and
I'm so sorry.
I wish that he could have hung in there because he would see how things have changed. And this song is about going back. He was back east. He was in college and going back and trying to find him on those streets, where he was. And that's why there's the Brooklyn reference and looking for the window of the apartment that he once lived in. And so just that longing after you've lost somebody, that you'll turn a corner and it will have not been true. They'll be right there that, really he's still in New York or he's still in Boston.
Wow.
And so that's the question, why can't I feel you in my bones? You're my baby, you're my son. Why can't I feel you?
Holy crap. That's very, very intense. And you really, you take that power and that intensity and all that emotion, and it really comes through the music.
It's a beautiful song. It's
Thank
a
you.
beautiful song.
Like
So
I said,
a lot of Monica's, all of Monica's songs come very much from what she's feeling, and she's kind of tries to be an open book and put it all out there. And it's still hard for her to talk about these things,
Yeah.
obviously. But whether it's, Head First is about being all in, and that's kind of the way she lives her life, is the way she writes her songs. She just puts it all out there, whether it's about love, whether it's about loss, whether it's about politics, whatever it is.
what about you? Where does your writing inspiration come from?
It's funny because I used to write my own songs all by myself, and they sucked.
Hello, Monica.
So Monica is your muse for writing better.
Right. Monica, I'm a much more guarded person, and I think to write a good song, you need to be honest and transparent.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Monica does, and I've never been capable of doing, so that's why I love working with her so much. But what I do think that what I bring to our partnership is I interpret her words and put the right music with it. The
Okay.
music that fits the song.
That is.
And I think that's
Monica
what
gave
makes our
a
partnership.
big old
our
nod
partnership
right
special.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it really, it's his ability to communicate, his ability to listen. And that's not to say that we haven't had like practically wrestling matches over a song.
Those aren't always the worst thing.
Oh my gosh.
That happens in all bands, so
Yeah.
don't
I mean, we've had to
Don't
shelve
change.
things. I mean, we've had.
put a pin in it. We'll get back to that later.
So true.
Oh my goodness.
But I can say ridiculous non-musical things to him. Like, no, it needs to sound more slippery. And he'll be like,
That's like my girlfriend.
and he'll be like,
Here's
do you
the
mean
real
like
word
this?
for that. Yeah. Wow.
She's like, yes, exactly like that.
But I have been learning music
Gotta edit my
words.
snort.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm working on it.
Music words?
I've been learning all, like, I want it to
Terminology.
be more arpeggiated. Things like
Those things.
those words.
Oh, I've been learning
Term,
those too.
they're called terms. Terminology.
We call them words.
Yeah, musical words. I couldn't think of the terminology for the terminology.
Arpeggio? Arpeggio?
Arpeggio.
thing? What
Yes.
is that?
Arpeggio is like,
Yeah.
going
I don't know. My husband says this
is that
stuff all
like
the time.
scaling, right?
It's like taking a chord and just playing, like, ever hear an REM song?
Yes, I've
Like
heard
what they do with the guitar, the do.
Yeah.
That's
It's like almost like a
arpeggio.
scale.
It's
Playing-
like staying in the
playing
chord,
within the
playing the notes in
scale,
the
yeah.
chord
Okay,
over
got
and
it.
over again.
Thank you.
At random intervals.
Sure.
I owe you $50, right, for my music lesson.
Shoot, someone paid me.
$39 a half hour.
Oh my god. Call 1-900. 1-900. Yeah.
Swipe right.
Oh my god. All right. Well, we got another song that you gave me. You said now this one is more of an observational song, like
It
it
is.
wasn't quite your personal experience.
Right. I did write it in the first person, but it is definitely based on a girlfriend's experience.
Nice. I'm sure you'll know who you are.
Picking up the pieces.
Actually, I hope she doesn't think
And on that note,
Better yet.
Don't tell everybody.
Now everyone knows my shit is not together, right?
now the breaking
Maybe it is. We haven't heard it yet. We
The
don't.
Breaking album, how many tracks are off how many tracks are on that album?
7.
7. Okay, so this is another track off of that album, Breaking, written about a friend. But in the first person perspective, this is Picking Up the Pieces by Sometimes Joy.
Did you break your heart? Stumble in the wrong place? Were you blinded by that pretty face? Did you fall too hard? For words flowing sweetly, they fell so easily in your ear. You heard everything you wanted to hear, and you're hiding from the world, kicking yourself, hoping like hell that nobody sees it. Fighting the urge to pick up where you left off. Hold on while you're picking up the pieces. Broke your promises. You swore you wouldn't let him in. You got his talk wrapped around your mind, and he's back again. Did you hear your heart shatter? You can't get him out of your head. He's sleeping, you're slipping. Had you let him
women in the room just went, yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Good. So all my girlfriends think it's about them.
There you go. Perfection.
That's a clue for a good song, and everybody else that you know thinks it's about them. You know you've
Right.
written a good song.
Isn't this really just a booty call song? Isn't that what this is?
No. See, he didn't even understand.
Maybe only women can understand it.
It's about communication, Rick. It's about communication.
Everything's about communication.
You've been tripping for way too long, sliding down the same sad song. It was broken before it had begun. Time to move on, don't be a fool. Hiding from the world, kicking yourself, open like hell and nobody sees it. Fighting the urge. You're hiding from the world, kicking yourself, hoping like hell that nobody sees it. Fighting the urge to pick up where you left off. Hold on while you're picking up. You're hiding from the world, kicking yourself, hoping like hell that nobody sees it. Fighting the urge. Hiding from the world, kicking yourself, hoping like hell that nobody sees it. Fighting the urge to pick up where you left off. Hold on while you're picking up the pieces.
Okay.
Bam.
I got to say something, you know.
Of course.
I'm on a roll.
Yeah. Go for it.
I felt very Bonnie Raitt in that song. Like
Oh my
something.
gosh.
I dig her. I think she's
That's
pretty
so
cool
funny
as shit,
because, well, no, she's my absolute favorite. Like,
Really?
huge influence.
She didn't read the bio,
In fact,
so
on
she
the way
actually
over here-
didn't know that.
Oh, I
On the way
didn't
over
know.
here,
I
if I'm going to say, she told me that if they ask me who my songwriting primary influence is, I'm going to say Bonnie Raitt.
Well,
And I don't read like the stuff before I don't prep
No.
or anything. I roll with it. I'm serious, like a true story.
No, I know. I could tell.
know.
I love her. I never miss her concerts. And first song I ever heard by Bonnie Raitt was actually written by John Prine, Angel from Montgomery. And I just think it is one of the most perfect songs ever written, lyrically, musically, and her performance is just timeless.
She's amazing. She's amazing, and she's kind of like on the rock side of country, in my opinion. Anyway,
Right.
when I
Yeah.
hear
And
it.
blues.
She would say
Yeah,
she's a
blues.
blues
Mhm.
artist, yeah.
Now, speaking of the music side of things, your music is so full. Like you have a 6-member accompaniment and a lot of guest musicians on your album, and you have a lot of bands, a lot of parts in there, and it's so full, but yet it's not like overpowering in any aspect. It's really well produced, really well mixed. Who does that?
Thank you. So we can say hats off to Pat Pixley, right?
Yeah, Patricio Pixley of Pacific Records is who produced that last one with us. Prior to that, it was the previous 2 CDs were with Andy Machin of the Jackstones.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so we've had some,
Put that down. And you know what? I do
I'm
want
never
to.
gonna remember on Saturday. Okay.
I want to give a shout out to Michael Stell though for
yeah,
the
I was going to
keys.
say that too. Michael, so you may have heard the organ on that.
Yeah,
on
the
that.
Hammond.
So that is actually Michael Stell of Stephanie Brown and the Surrealistics, who's an amazing organ player. So I
Wow.
just want to make sure we credited him with that because he added a lot to a few songs. Not
Well,
just that one.
there's a lot in all of your songs. Just the 3 tracks we heard, there's a lot of power, a lot of emotion, a lot of musicality. And like you said, you've got an immense amount of talent backing you up. And then you guys have a lot of talent on the foreground to
Yeah.
create the stuff for them to embellish. It's incredible.
Well, no, it's really cool, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but these songs, especially on Breaking, these sound exactly how I personally envisioned them. So I have that full sound in my head, and I'm so fortunate to have found musicians who can help bring that out and
Yeah.
lay it down so perfectly, and producers who can help flush that out and flesh that out. What's the right term for that?
I think it's
I think it's
flesh.
flesh.
It's
I'm going to go with
flesh.
Flash.
Flash.
Flash that out. Flash it.
Well, I'm okay with that. So
Nobody's gonna complain in this room.
I didn't mark XXX on the YouTube video thing,
Oh,
so I don't
better get
know.
on that.
You know.
So we've just been really lucky to find really talented people to collaborate with us.
Where
and
do you find your musicians? Like, How do you go about that?
You know, I have to say, not having been a musician before 5 years ago, I just think it's amazing once you get into the world, into the community of music. As you begin to meet people, then they introduce you to the next person, and now we just have not just this great group of musicians, but this great group of friends. And so initially, some of it came to us through Andy Machin of the Jackstones, who
found Enrique for us, and
exactly.
among others.
And then, we began to make connections. And then we also have used technology, that dating site for people who want people in their bands.
Yeah, bandmix.com.
That's the one.
It is.
Tinder? What?
It's Tinder for musicians.
Well, you remember we've actually had an artist on the Dusty Futon thanks to Tinder before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Oh boy. Was that a story? That was great.
So you guys just have an incredible. I lost my track.
Well, the dynamic is amazing.
Yeah.
You guys write fantastic music, great lyrics. You collaborate on the lyrics. I
Thank you.
don't recall, right?
They're
Well, the lyrics are primarily
They're
Monica's.
okay.
they're mostly mine, and every now and then I get somebody to pitch in and tell me that sounds a little too sappy or whatever it is.
Yeah, just to make
But,
it a little, tweak it a little or whatever.
So
Yeah.
where can people find more information about you if they don't know enough about you already?
We're everywhere that you can find music. We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on sometimesjulie.com, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram and Twitter. So Rick, you can carry
There's
on.
no social media that we don't
Yeah,
participate
you
in
just
in one way or
a
another.
couple of hookers.
Where's your what? Okay, I'm gonna gloss over that. So
the hookers,
where-
and the
yeah.
flashing.
Where's the hookers and the cocaine and the bottles of
Well, we've
wine?
already talked about the 80s a bit. So
Crystal.
what are you gonna do?
I want to say that I was not there.
That's why you look so fucking good. Okay.
Thank you.
I was there. Okay.
You've
So-
recovered nicely.
Where do you
Thank you.
where do you normally put your calendar of events on so where people can come and find you and see your shows?
So, sometimesjulie.com, Facebook, Reverb Nation.
Reverb Nation, for sure.
Those are
You keep it up.
our primary, and Instagram. So those are primarily the best places to find out what Sometimes
It's-
Julie's up to.
Since you brought Reverb Nation up again, big thank you to Reverb Nation for connecting us
Absolutely.
together. This was such an awesome opportunity for us to connect.
No, we're so grateful that there's something out there like Reverb Nation that
Yeah.
really makes music so important.
Because we wouldn't have found the Dusty Futon without Reverb
That's right.
Nation.
Yay!
Exactly.
It's
And
a
I wouldn't have found you
win-win.
guys. I didn't-
Exactly what I was
Yeah.
going to say. Like,
Yeah.
it worked out perfectly.
I know.
Very fun.
Speaking of band Tinder,
It did kind of work out that way now, didn't
Kinda
it?
did. It
Because I
kinda
got to look at all the artists and pick the ones that I wanted. So
That's really cool.
I was the girl in this relationship.
Totally, he fan
Wait a minute.
geeked on you guys.
I'm never
Totally
gonna-
fan geek.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I was very excited to meet you guys. So
That's
thank you
awesome.
again for taking the time out to come down here on the Dusty Futon with us.
Thank you.
you bet. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
No problem. All
It's been
righty.
great. Thank you.
You guys keep up the good work. And you already have another album in the works, right?
We do. And can I say one last thing before we go? 'Cause-
Anything you want.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so we didn't give a big shout out to Alan Sanderson, who is engineer on all of these songs, and
Okay.
he's with Pacific Beats, and he did a phenomenal job helping us get this down.
Grammy winner Alan Sanderson.
Exactly. No, he's phenomenal. Personally, and
Yeah.
for anyone who's listening, you'll need this song. I Won't Go Quietly. It's a protest song. You're going to need it.
Okay.
All right.
All righty.
Thank you
Well,
for listening
got
to
it.
that.
there you go. Check it out. And thank you guys again for coming out and keep rocking it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks
And you
for
keep
having
rocking
us.
I do it. All right.
You guys are so fun.
Oh, thank you. You're fun.
No, you
No,
are.
So
you're
are you,
fun.
Rick.
No, you're fun.
Oh, you're more fun. Oh, you're way more fun.
I'm going to hit stop now.
We better stop.
Thank you so much to Monica and Rick of Sometimes Julie for coming out to take a seat on the Dusty Futon, and definitely to Reverb Nation for connecting us with Sometimes Julie. Big thank you to Spicy Kim of Wicked Tone Entertainment for being our executive producer and co-host. I'm Big John, your host, engineer, editor, and producer of this production of the Dusty Futon LLC. Please don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends and get them to subscribe so they can all get the newest episodes when they come out. You can find out more about that and how to do it on www.dustyfuton.com. And if you love what we are doing, and you want to support us and help us continue to do this and even expand our capabilities, you can be like Rick and our other supporters and go to patreon.com/thedustyfuton. That's patreon.com/thedustyfuton. And on there, you can pledge to support us for as little as $1 a month or even more. And we appreciate every consideration, even if you just check it out. Thank you so much for at least looking at it. This has been another production of the Dusty Futon LLC, and thank you so much again for tuning in.
What inspires you to write songs?
So most of it is real life.
Okay.
Every now and then you can have sort of an imagined thing or something that you saw happen to a friend, like picking up the pieces is not really something directly out of my life. It is out of a friend's life. But in breaking, if you've ever been in a relationship for any period of time, well, I'll just say if it's a man and a woman, sometimes the woman is trying to communicate her feelings and sometimes the man is more interested in winning the argument, in my experience, in my very limited experience. And so that's...
I like how you put that disclaimer there. It's
Yes.
like, someone's going to just attack you for, no, this person that way.
Yeah. And so it's kind of about that frustration of having two different communication styles where somebody's not hearing that what I'm telling you is I can't handle this anymore,
Right.
Yeah.
And those are just moments that come up in any long-term relationship.
Now-
Just in life in general, and that's very powerful.